Ahoy toy, joy toy, welcome to Transfixed.
The channel that complies with all municipal, provincial, federal, NATO, and Warsaw Pact ordinance, rules, and regulations. Tonight we're going to take a look at the Joy Toy, Joy!
Happy, happy, happy! Joy, joy, joy!
SWAT figure Crossfire. This is a 1/18th scale figure, or approximately 4 inches, which is in scale with the G.I. Joe line, which is great. I've been looking for a figure that's a proper upgrade to the G.I. Joe sort of scale and design. Now, it's appropriate that we're taking a look at this guy tonight because he's a COPPA. Every toy channel is talking a lot about COPPA. I'm going to be really brief about what I have to say about it. Number one, it's a government thing, not a YouTube thing. COPPA has been an FTC regulation since 1998, and they're just now starting to enforce it on YouTube, so it's not really their fault. It could be argued that the way they're going about enforcing it isn't the best, and I understand how some people are not very confident in YouTube's ability to police things because of their track record in the past hasn't been stellar, but I think a lot of people are overreacting about it. Some people are leaving YouTube or trying to make changes to their channel. I really don't think it's going to affect many of us. I mean, probably not me because I'm very small. It is there to protect kids, and it's for these very young skewing demographics. I think. I mean, the under 13 is what the concern is here. So having said that, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to wait and see how it plays out. I'm going to keep doing this and trying to grow my channel. So I'm of the mind to just let things play out and see what happens. I'm not going to do anything unless anything actually happens. My motto is, why borrow trouble from the future? Right? So, having said that, let's get into this guy. This is from Joy Toy, and I've seen a lot of these figures up on Big Bad Toy Store and passed over them until now. They've got two scales, actually. One is a 2.5-inch scale, but this is the one I'm interested in. So I finally found one that I wanted to take a look at. I wanted to try them out because the other figures are just a little bit too laden with gear for my liking. They're kind of like near future military or current day military, which is great, but they're just so bulky and not really what I want. So anyway, he comes in this handsome outer box, inside the shipping box, of course. And then he has this little inside box, which kind of reminds me of like a cell phone case. And that's all right. I've seen this before with Comic Cave Studios, and their Iron Man figures come in something like this. It's kind of nice, kind of classy. Feels like you're getting a high-end adult collectible here. And then inside, he was in this little foam sarcophagus here. Sarcophagus. I had this biology teacher in high school. He would deliberately mispronounce things just to keep your attention. So he would talk about the skeletal system and the esophagus. It's pretty clever, really. This is all in Sanskrit, so obviously I can't read that. But here's a picture of him. He is 10.5 centimeters. Yeah, metric system. That's right. Get your act together, United States. You're late for Thanksgiving again, too. It's supposed to be before Remembrance Day. Just kidding. So here's our guy. He comes with some accessories. He comes with this awesome rifle, which I think is an AR-15. I like guns, but I'm not the foremost expert on them. And all these little things. So he comes with gripping hands, and these are on a joint that goes this way. This is a bit different from the one I have in his hand right now, because that has a trigger finger. This one does not. And the reason it doesn't... he's got just four hands. Yeah, the reason it doesn't is because of this accessory, his little knife, I suppose. And this is supposed to, in theory, plug into a little hole on his belt here, but it's kind of like a little ball. I can't really get it to go in there. I can't go balls deep here. So, yeah, I guess this is a baton, not a knife. I think it's a baton, and I can't get it to go in there. It looks like this is just going to bend off, so I'm just not going to do that. And then it comes with all these extra joints. I think these are replacement joints, so that's kind of nice. It comes with one of these, two of these, and one big one here, two of these little ones. I guess that's for the knee. I'm not really sure, actually. I don't think it is. We'll try to figure this out later. And then it comes with two of these joints, which are probably hip and shoulder joints, I'm guessing. So put those off to the side for now. Oh, my mistake. He comes with two of each type of joint. Two biggies, two littles, two shoulders, and that thing, and the gun, and a pistol. And the little pistol fits right into his little holster here, which is pretty cool. That works well. It doesn't get stuck or anything. All these pouches are affixed. These are glued on, so I'm not going to try to rip them off. It's got kind of like a floating waist piece here. It's got great articulation, like this. And also, that line there is not a swivel, but there is one up here at the top. So you can swivel all the way around. You can see those joints in there. This works really well. And the waist kind of floats. So, and then he's got a ball here, and then a second ball up here in the upper torso. These knee pads are glued on, I believe. They don't seem to come off. But they kind of stick out, as you can see, but they hide the knee well enough. And these joints are really what I want to rave about. I see why it's called Joy Toy now. They bring me joy.
Oh, joy!
This is kind of like, it reminds me of a Mafex joint.
I only have one Mafex figure to compare to. That's this Boba Fett.
If you have any Mafex figures, you'll kind of recognize this, where it's got like one big piece and two little pieces. This is not exactly the same as that. Or is it? Maybe it is. I can't really tell. But it gives it that nice, buttery, smooth motion. Oh, I love it. My favorite type of joint on an action figure. Not my favorite type of joint overall, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's got like a walkie on the back here. He's got nice little painted details. All these rivets are painted in, which is really nice. And he's got like a kind of a insignia here, GR.
Okay, so I have to confess my ignorance here. In the process of looking up some information for this video, I found out that this toy is actually based on a video game character, or at least class. Yeah, there's a game called Crossfire, which was released way back in 2007 in Korea, and 2009 North America. And this guy is a SWAT. And that's the reason that this guy has a GR patch on his shoulders, because that stands for Global Risk, which is one of the two factions, the other being Blacklist. So yeah, I was totally unaware of this game. It's like an online shooter, and I just had to mention it since it's relevant, and so I don't get called out in the comments about it. SWAT on the chest, and more rivets. Got some paint here on his goggles and around the rim, and his little eyes are painted in there. Not too bad. The eye, the face paint is very simple, and this helmet does not come off or anything like that. So, but he's got kind of a double neck joint. This works well enough, I find. And you can see his shoulder joint in there, and the arm, elbow joint there. So he's got a little bit more than 90 degrees on the elbow. I've always wondered why they can't just go all the way up. Like, this would make me very happy on a figure like this if they could just bend their arms all the way up. They just need to make this joint a little bit, more cut out. And I don't think that would really ruin the aesthetic, but it is well done. And as you can see, he's got these hinged. So these, this trigger finger is hinged this way, which is different from the other hands we saw. Actually, the other right hand does hinge the same way. My mistake. And then all the left hands hinge the other way. So there's right hand style hinge and left hand style hinge. And that is so that he can hold his weapon. And that is the best thing about this figure. Of course, he can hold the pistol. Let me just show you that first. There he is holding his pistol, and you can give it like a pistol grip. Yeah. What I really want to show you is this, though. This is my one great desire for a 3 3/4 inch or 4 inch style figure, is that he can hold his gun up to his shoulder and look down the iron sights. That's it. That's my test of a good action figure. That's all I want it to do. That's all I've ever wanted it to do. Actually, that applies to 6-inch figures too, if they have weapons. Because you could never do that with the old figures. I'm going to compare these later, but this is great. So you can get him in this pose. You can, mostly because of the wrist. And yes, the new G.I. Joe figures have that too, but they just don't work as well as this. And then you just bring this supporting arm up to hold it like this. And finally, my dreams have come true. He can look down the iron sights. Not exactly, he can't get his head right quite there, but I mean, he can have this in sort of a tactical position. He can hold it in a firing position. It's beautiful. He can go down on one knee and do this too.
Oh, I forgot to show the ankle, by the way. This is how the ankle looks. It's got a swivel and hinge that works quite well. There's a little cuff that rotates around with it here as well. Oh, look at that. That's actually another joint. Amazing. I didn't even notice that before, but there it is. Oh, look at that. That just popped right off, but that's okay. You can pop both of these off. And take his waist off, and there's the barbell joint in the middle there. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. It's all right. You can do that. Well, now we know that those are shoulder joints, not hips. Anyway, let me finish what I was doing here. I just got to rotate this a bit, then put this back down. And then we can get him into a nice crouching on one knee pose. Is that not beautiful? Harrison, here's a modern style hit and run, and he has the same style of joints. But they're a bit harder to pose because he's, one, rubbery, and two, these are ratcheted. I have no idea why you need a ratchet joint on something so tiny. It just limits the articulation. And the elbow is a problem here because on this figure, you can't get the elbow up to 90 degrees. Maybe I've got it backwards. Let's try that. No, that's not the way to go. This way is the most he can do. So let's try to get him in the same pose. That's as high as it can go. Because those elbows are limited. And because of the ratcheting, you can't... It keeps wanting to pull itself back into the nearest ratchet. You can't get it in exactly the pose you want. So, in my opinion, these figures are a bit inferior. There's no swivel on these knees. And again, the ratcheting is going to limit everything you do with the feet. You're going to go either that far or there. There's nothing in between. Now, stand-wise, though, this is a Marauder Task Force stand. And it has the foot pegs for the old vintage style and the modern style. Right, so for an old figure, you'd put it on there. And the smaller new figure, you'd put it on here. Most fit that. Now, this figure doesn't seem to fit that. I don't know what size hole that's supposed to be, but it doesn't really fit here. It could, but this is too shallow. And it's too small to fit over this one. It might just, if you really crushed it on there, it might. But that's okay, you know, it actually doesn't really need a stand. These figures stand really well on their own. Whoops, I'm moving the table around. But it's easy to get him to stand up. You can put him in poses and he still stands up. And that is because you got that buttery, smooth joints all over the place. It can go in infinite positions, not just where the ratchets are. Which is not something you can say for modern era G.I. Joes. He's sort of standing up there, but... yeah, see? It's not stable because his foot's not even flat on the ground. Believe me, I've tried, but... And this is a very common one, too. Like, he's using the Shock Trooper parts. Almost all the G.I. Joes use Shock Trooper parts. I'm surprised these legs are actually not Shock Trooper. But anyway, you get the idea. And there's the size comparison. So the joytoy is a little bit larger, this being an average size G.I. Joe figure. They do have larger ones like the Roadblock figure, who are taller, but this is a little bit larger. And here is a vintage G.I. Joe. Shockwave, which I think is a good comparison because he is their SWAT trooper. So we can see we have an increase in scale here. Got figure creep. I'll line these up later. Actually, I'll line them up now. So there they are. I think Shockwave is a good comparison. I went ahead and dug out my modern version of him so we could see the difference between the three figures. So I even changed into a blue shirt myself to fit with the theme. Yeah, the modern era is a little bit bigger than the classic G.I. Joes, and the Joy Toy is a little bit bigger than that. So he measures in at, that's, I'd say 4.5 inches, maybe 4 3/8. This modern one is 4 1/4, and the original Joe is an even 4 inches. Here's a Boss Fight Studio figure and a pop can for scale. Oh, where do you buy it? I got mine from Big Bad Toy Store. It was $30 US, and I think that's reasonable considering what you get in terms of quality and accessories and paint, because that's kind of what G.I. Joes are running for. I mean, when they were on the shelves, I think they were about $15, but I mean, from getting them from the club or the figure subscription service, I mean, the last bunch of figures to get them were really expensive. They were going about Probably averaging about $60 a pop, which is just way too much for this type of figure. But I think 30 for Joy Toy is very reasonable. Anyway, I think I've run out of stuff to say about this. Obviously, I like it a lot. I am a new fan of Joy Toy now that I've got one in my hands, and I'm probably going to get another one. And I'm probably going to try not to buy any of the vehicles and playsets that they have, but I don't know if I'll be successful because, yeah, it's really good. I'm not really into collecting this scale anymore, but maybe they've won me back. I don't know. But if you collect 3 3/4 inch or 4 inch scale figures, I do highly recommend the Joy Toys. They are great, and they will bring you joy. Great joy. So that's enough rambling from me. Thanks for watching, and good night.